Well, welcome to the Dare to Be Great, Dare to Be You podcast. My name is Sean Langwell, and I am your host. And, if you like honest, vulnerable, and real stories about what it takes to not only become great, but self-confident and bold enough to be yourself, then this show is for you. Each of my guests started out as ordinary people like you and me, but have accomplished extraordinary things in their lives to be considered great masters or experts at what they have been called to do. Join me each episode for inspiring, encouraging, and meaningful conversations with diverse people from all walks of life and industry. Leaders and brave individuals who offer unique insights into the fields of arts, entertainment, business, finance, technology, healthcare, sports, psychology, recovery, self improvement, personal growth, and so much more. Whether you are in the same fields as my guests or not, I guarantee you will walk away from each episode feeling better about yourself and inspired to take the next bold step toward your own goals and aspirations. Your life will improve if you dare to be great and dare to be you. And folks, this is a very special treat. We've got Franco Finn here today, who is just say a quick hi and then I'll read your intro.
Yeah, how's it going? Franco
Doing
Finn,
good.
better known as a hype man for, a very popular team, the Golden State Warriors, but I could say I'm hype man for the Bay Area and beyond. I've done quite a bit with my voice and my career.
Yeah, and you know what? It's an honor to have you on the show. It was a fleeting meeting. We exchanged business cards, and here we are a month and a half later. And here's Franco's professional bio, and he's done a lot, and you'll recognize his voice once we get in the conversation. Franco Finn is a second San Francisco native, a small business owner, Franco Finn Productions LLC, and a member of the San Francisco Film Commission. He is best known, as he mentioned, as the in-arena MC and TV personality for our favorite team, the Golden State Warriors, now in his 24th season, where he energizes 20,000 plus fans each game as the iconic Warriors hype man. Franco has appeared on ABC, KGO, KRON4, and serves as MC/host for the Cal Bears football and basketball teams. His hosting career spans major national and international sporting events, including NBA All-Star, FIBA World Cup, Major League Cricket, Sail GP, Rugby World Cup, and Eurobasket. A professional benefit auctioneer, Franco is a graduate of the prestigious Mendenhall School of Auctioneering and holds the Benefit Auctioneer Specialist BAS designation. He has helped raise millions for organizations such as American Red Cross, March of Dimes, Ronald McDonald House, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCA, and Make-A-Wish Foundation. Franco, this is an honor and a privilege. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so you've got let's start with what your most recent venture is. We're going to go into the Warrior stuff in a sec because we had our last game last night, but I want to hear from you what this film track is. You're on the San Francisco Film Commission, and that's a little bit different. When we had the conversation, I didn't have any idea that that was a realm that you are participating in.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for a while. So what's that all about?
Well, well, it's funny because everybody, comes up to me for various reasons. They've seen me on TV, heard me on the radio, obviously seen me at Warrior games, auctions, galas, whatever it is. And they always say, like, well, what do you do? I said, well, what do I not do? Because I'm doing the things that I love to do. Number one, first and foremost, I'm using my voice, using my personality, being who I am, really day in, day out, uh, and using it as a job. So that's one thing. But the film is really a passion of mine since I was a kid. I mean, watched a lot of movies growing up. I was an only child. Um, and what did I have? I had movies to entertain me each and every night. And so films, movies, shows, anything on TV, I was just glued to the set. And so
Hmm.
I actually majored in TV and film production at Santa Clara University, which is a, you know, business, tech, engineering type of school. And I'll tell you that because I started off as an engineer, thinking I was going to be, into, working in Silicon Valley, right here in
Hmm.
the Bay Area. So I went to Santa Clara. But lo and behold, my real passions were really TV studios, film sets, and that sort of work. And so I actually majored in communications and switched to TV, film, and production, thinking I would be behind the scenes, which is ironic now because I'm in front of the scenes quite a bit, but this is
Yeah.
kind of fulfilling my passion kind of behind the lens. And what I really want to do is I'd love to be an inspiring filmmaker one day. I love documentaries. Um, I love sci-fi, I love drama, I love everything about film, just the creative process of it. And so this was my way to give back to the city. I was appointed by our mayor then, Mayor London Breed, who tapped me on the shoulder and said, Franco, I want you to be a part of something in San Francisco, one of my commissions. Take your pick, and I will appoint you. Let me know. It took about a couple of years till I found the right fit. And there was an opening when the film commission opened up, and I said, wow, that's me. I can bring films to San Francisco. I'll be involved in it, and it brings economic recovery for our city. It creates jobs, and we get to go have fun sets, and it brands our city. I said, sign me up. There you go.
So what is tell me a little bit about your role because one of my clients in my day job is the California Film Institute, which is this co-sponsor or the primary sponsor of the Mill Valley Film Festival that's going
Yes,
on for over 40 years. They've got Docklands coming up, and I don't want to cross-pollinate stuff here, but just from a curiosity standpoint, what's your role on the San Francisco Film Commission? Is it a branding for the city? Is it about bringing awareness to homelessness issues? Is there a particular niche that you're focusing on that you're passionate about?
that's a good question. So, I mean, we're essentially like the board, right, for the Film Commission, which is the official film office, if you will, for San Francisco. So, anything that comes through, like permitting, site locations, working with producers, directors, and that sort, to really, bring productions to the city. And
Got it.
they can range from commercials to huge, blockbuster budget films like Marvel films and The Matrix and things like that, to really high-end commercials that's shot all the time. And so my job as a board member, there's just, about 11 of us right now, is what we're trying to do is just really market our city, go to film festivals all around the world and beyond, make relationships happen, and say, look, shoot your next film, shoot your next project in San Francisco. We got great new incentives for you, this and that. So, yeah, kind of a marketing arm, if you will, of the city. That's my
Yeah.
specialty because I travel all over the world. I see a lot of people courtside at the games. I talked to Ryan Coogler one time when he was working on his Sinners project, and he's a Bay Area guy. Talked to him. Hey, you know what? He's a celebrity now. I said, hey, Ryan, shoot your film right here in San Francisco. He goes, all right, I'm the right guy to talk to if you ever need anything. Perfect. Planted in his head. So it's a
It,
great job.
it's super interesting, and I can't remember because in my line of work too, I talked to so many different people. I can't remember who the hell it was that I talked to. It may have been at a chamber mixer or something, but I, actually, I was sitting down at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Legacy Awards, and they honored the family from me. Um, the restaurant that's in Las Guitarras in Nevada there, and sitting next to a guy who actually happened to be doing some work on films, and he was a location scout. And it's like there's this
Yeah,
whole other area where bringing full-on production into, I'm looking at the background here, the Marin Headlands, those roads have been used for commercials for many, many times. That requires permitting and it requires a whole nother level of coordination, but it also brings in money to the city, right?
correct. Creates jobs, foods, restaurants, hotels. Um, it really is an economic boost and it markets your city. Like think about The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. New Zealand's tourism went through the roof when those series were out, right? Where the
Mm.
movies were just, at the top of their game. People were visiting from all over the world to see where The Hobbit was filmed, where Lord of the Rings was filmed, Croatia, beautiful countries like that. Um, there's look at this one, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Breaking Bad. Remember that
Yep.
series? Huge success. Well, New Mexico got a spike in tourism when people wanted to see where's the Breaking Bad house? Where is it at? I mean, people are connected to movies, shows, films, all that good stuff. And it's nostalgic. People want to go visit the sites, and it creates tourism. It markets our city. And there's great incentives that we've been offering, especially lately. We've had some new initiatives and incentives that really make it appealing to film in San Francisco. So now we got the tools to say, hey, we've got a great backdrop, natural backdrops that you can't find anywhere. And guess what? You get money back for any production. The more you spend, the more you put San Francisco as your backdrop, the more money you will receive. So it's a cool way to market my city where I was born and raised, and to include my passions, which is really TV, film, and anything of that sort.
And it's interesting too. I mean, just having this conversation with you, if you didn't have that card that said San Francisco Film Commission, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because it's not top of mind for me. But just it brings me back. This is the connection. You mentioned connections where this can bring that, can
Correct.
build this community and build awareness. I've been in sales and marketing and advertising for 35 years, so I get that piece of it. But you bring me back to the day when I was working across the bay over at Mix Magazine, and I had the wonderful job of doing some of, not what you do, but going out to various recording studios, including full-on movie production studios, and
Right.
walking in there and sitting down with the sound engineers. And it put me inside Skywalker Sound and sitting in the same chair that Steven Spielberg did when he was making his movies. And I'm sitting just, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
But using that as an example, San Francisco North, there's tons of production studios up here to help follow through with that. And Lucas was a harbinger of all that.
Yeah.
The short story was when I was in high school, I worked at a place called Dominic's, which was in the heyday was the spot to be. People would pull up in their yachts and just spend money hand over fist. The 49ers came in there after they won the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. But George Lucas would come in on occasion. He'd pull up in his roadster. He lives in San Anselmo. And I jokingly just say, can I park it? He's like, get out of here. Just get the heck out of here. Like, no, you're not going to park my car. But the point is all of this stuff, the Bay Area is awesome.
The
And
Bay Area is awesome. Absolutely.
know, let's transition into the sports environment. I grew up being a fan of the San Francisco Giants. I've been a Warriors fan since I was probably 8 years old. I couldn't wait till they won their first championship and we get Steph Curry. And here we are, we get four championships. And who knows how this season's going to go. But you've been a part of the Warriors family for over 24 years. And this is just a rare opportunity. I want to go here because it's not every day that we get to hear what it's like from you. You're close to this. You can talk to the
Yeah.
player. What's it like, Franco?
I'm telling you, it's a job that is so unique. There's only a certain amount of MCs and hype men and women, I guess, if you will, in the NBA, number one. Um, I was the first Asian American, first Filipino hype man in the NBA. 24 years in running. Just completed the 24th season, and it's literally half my lifetime. And I look back and see, wow, to see the perspective from nothing, like we couldn't win 20 games, to winning four NBA championships. That I have four rings to to show that. That's in my safe right now. It's just amazing. I never would have thought in my wildest dreams, as you probably imagine, we're lifelong Warrior fans, right? My mom immigrated here in the 70s, and her first, entree into American culture was basketball. So she
Okay.
actually got to witness the 75 championship. I wasn't even born yet. And that was her kind of passion for basketball. And she watched, Rick Barry and those guys in 75. And then I was born a couple of years later in 77. And then you fast forward almost 40 years from the date we won the championship the first time, 2015, get the first NBA championship, at least that I was a part of. And it's a dream come true. I mean, it's amazing to be just in an environment where, the fans have been hungry for a long time. I mean, we had a drought for 20 plus years at least, right? For the playoffs, couldn't even scratch the playoffs, even get to that stratosphere. And here we are with this man, Stephen Curry, who just took us from here to the next level. But it was building blocks, right? We had the Mark Jackson era that really kind of cemented, we have the best shooting backcourt in the NBA. We're like, what the heck? Well,
Right.
lo and behold, he was darn right. But you needed Coach Kerr and the other players and Draymond and all those guys to come together to say, wow, this dynasty is legit. And to see this and to be a part of it and to be really I say the maestro for the crowd, the fan factor when the fans need to get into it, where the players need to feel it and say, Roracle, let's go on your feet, make some noise. That's me
Yeah.
orchestrating that whole thing. So I have a little part in it, but I feel like it's a part that's a little pebble that you throw, and then the ripple effect happens. Like you need somebody to throw the pebble and then that's me. And then there's this wave effect, and boom, there you go. Dumb Naked
Well,
was formed, Roracle was formed.
yeah, and you're at the center of that, and it's not an ego play at all. You are the pitch man to get that. I got to see, fortunate enough to see two games today. The preseason game against Portland, where they were getting their asses handed to them, and they came back and pulled it off. And I purposely like to go to a preseason game because you get a taste to see the full complement of who the roster is going to be before
Right.
somebody gets hurt. And they did it. And the other game I got to see was against the Memphis Grizzlies, where they were also getting their ass kicked. And you, in the middle of the game, you got the crowd into it. The crowd's kind of going, "Oh shit, here we go again." And
Right.
to watch the entire arena of 18,000 plus fans start to feel and watch what happened in that game, that's the experience that we get to bring, that you bring to an arena in a sports environment. But I want to draw that out from you because it's easy in a controlled environment, Franco. But
Yeah.
how can some people out here start to do that, not being a pitch man in their company per se, but being a pitch person for themselves to go out and chase their dreams? Because so many of us are like, I can't do it, or they gravitate towards the world, the old Chicken Little story of the sky is falling.
Right.
No,
Well,
it's an inside job, right?
and this is the thing. Look, public speaking is not easy. It's the one of the number one fears next to heights and spiders and snakes and all that. Like public speaking is not something that we're normally taught. And I had to develop this and say, you know what? I got to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And
Right.
that's really where you have to be your own pitch man, pitch woman, whatever it may be, because there's only one person that can, you know, talk to you and get you, off this ledge or on the ledge or whatever it is that you need to do to get to that next step, and that is yourself. You have to be your number one cheerleader, and that's the way I equate myself. I am essentially a cheerleader, if you will, because I'm using my voice to get everyone amped up. I'm not doing the dances and things like that. Although I've gone down a little bit with the dance team once in a while. I've had a couple of fun routines that are impromptu and surprise ones, which was kind of fun. But I'm kind of a cheerleader, a verbal cheerleader, if you will, to use my voice to amplify, to get everyone on their feet and doing that. So it starts somewhere, right? I mean, I didn't start in an arena like this, obviously. I started in my high school gym. I tell you, like that was my first beginning. I did student leadership, student council in high school. I was the only kid from my school. I went to a French American school in the city, so that's already weird as it is, having a Filipino American, French speaking guy with an Irish last name in a French school. They're like, "Wait, you're Franco Finn? Like who?" You're
I can
confusing
only
me. You're
imagine.
confusing me.
Is
Like
that
what?
L'Essays Français on whatchamajig there on
This
TV?
one is, well, there's two schools. This is the one on I believe it's on Oak Street now, or yeah,
Okay.
Oak Street. It's well, it's called International School now, but Lycée Franco-Américain. So it was one of the French schools in the city, and I went to Sacred Heart Cathedral Catholic school, because my family's Catholic and whatnot. They said, all right, you got to get a private Catholic school education now. I'm like, all right, fine. Only kid from my school, from my little small French school, going to this school. Well, there's only one thing I had to do. I had to join student leadership. I wasn't that good at sports. I tried, but I wasn't that good. So I said, let me at least be a student leader. And that was the confidence I needed to get in front of my classmates and actually hype up a rally. I remember the 95 uh, 49ers. You mentioned for sports. 49ers were the team, the Deion Sanders of the time. Uh, 95, we won a Super Bowl. I remember I had to hype it up. I was pretending I was Deion Sanders. I had the bandana. I trotted into that gym, and it looked big to me. It was about 1,000 people, but it looked huge. It looked like an arena, and I just said, "All right, Franco, public speaking, let's go." I mean, I've never emceed a rally in my life, but that feeling when I said, "Are you ready to win?" Sacred, whatever I said that day, and the response was like they gave it back to me. I was like,
Yeah.
holy, I could control this moment. And that's how rock stars feel. And I always equate it to musicians when they say, all right, San Francisco, are you feeling it? When they're giving it back, they're dishing out, they want to play some more. It's just that vibe and energy. And I learned that at an early age, that microphone, that voice can really set the tone in a room, and you can really make a difference in how people feel when they walk away. People were fired up. We had a rivalry game to go to, and we were getting the kids pumped up. That was my job. And so I realized that, this gift of public speaking was something that I could use it. And I used it at church too. I always use this example because you might not be in a big arena or a stadium or a gym, but I was in a church at 13. My parents signed me up because I had a good voice, good delivery. I was reading scriptures at 13. Who wants to do that on a Sunday when you're 13 years old? I didn't want
Right.
to do it, but I was comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I said, well,
Mhm.
I'm only here for an hour. Might as well make the most out of an hour instead of complaining this and that. And that's that inner strength, that inner, like, let me believe in myself. I got to cheer myself up in order for me to get up there because no one else is going to do it except
Right.
yourself. And that's really the biggest thing that I took from that is that you have to be your number one advocate. There's only one person's going to get you up in the morning that wants you, to do this and wants to do that. And we don't want to do a lot of things. I get it. But once you try it and then you're like, wow, I'm actually pretty good at it, you follow your dreams. You follow your gut and say, you know what? Let's see where I can go to the next level, the next level. I mean, I started doing gas station openings, grocery store promotions. I mean, weird events when I was in radio, grand openings of this and that all over the Bay Area, places I didn't even want to be in. I had cranky old men and women going, "Hey, you're too loud. Crank that down. Who are you yelling in my ears?" Shopping at Albertsons. I mean, but it was my craft. I had to perfect it. Like, oh, maybe I'm too much there. Okay, do a little here, maybe back off there, maybe go over the top at this moment. So I started to find this craft on how to kind of get energies up, get energies down. I was
Hmm.
a maestro on the mic, and I never thought I'd be a talent. And I'll be honest with you, I told you I was majoring in TV film production. I wanted to work at a TV station, behind the scenes, editing all day, writing, producing, but I ended up in front of the cameras, in front of the mic. And that's where I say you just never know where you end up. You just have to be comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling. And then they're like, dang it, I'm pretty good. And just go from there.
Well, and what I hear you saying too is you just said it, is being comfortable, being uncomfortable, but being able to roll with it and find this and to embrace it is kind of the word I'm looking for. You embrace it. Yes,
Embrace it.
behind the scenes, there were other plans, there were other skills and natural gifts that you had, and you got a taste of that early on from 13 till when you're in high school, 15, 16, getting people pumped up for the Super Bowl or yeah, for the Super Bowl. Um, but I want to talk a little bit about the energy and the role of that because one of the books, I just gave a talk on last Saturday to Napa Valley writers about what was it called? Um, I just had a total brain fart here. Uh, Probably because I'm not supposed to talk about myself. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's about being present, showing
Right.
up and being fully
Being
present.
present.
And part of that, from a public speaking standpoint, from a human connection standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, so many of us get stuck up here that we forget to just let this whole thing and the energy flow. And what I hear you talking about is really what I've learned in sales too. It, it's transferring emotion through energy, and we get to
Energy.
bring our energy into the room, into the party, into the boardroom, into the arena. And if we forget that, that's a powerful thing. And so many people think that it's going to come from over here, but what you just described to me, you learned how to do that at an early age, and you
Yes.
realized it was a gift. So I'm going to put it on you just for a second, and we're going to go into something that's a little bit deeper. But um, how do you do that? Does it come naturally? Or if you were going to teach somebody else how to do this, Franco, what would you say to them? Because there's tons of people that want to do something or at least want to be able to be comfortable in front of a mic and they're scared spitless about it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I mean, like I am naturally a very hyper person. I was a hyper kid, very all my report cards. I was reading them from kindergarten and on, and all said the same thing. Like Franco is he's a good student, he's a great kid, but he talks too much. He's this just always got something going on. He can't sleep, he can't relax. I mean, my brain's always going, and this is one way to kind of hone it in. I mean, they're like bursts of energy, and that's
Hmm.
kind of who I've been all my life. But I also have a quiet side. People don't realize like there are times like it's literally an on and off switch. There's sometimes no middle for me. I'm pretty extreme, my personality. Either I'm going to be just super chill and I don't want to do anything, or it's turn on a switch and it's maximum overdrive. And I've been able to control my energy. We're talking about energy. That's literally what it is. I'm transferring energy. Like I come from a full-time day job. People don't realize I've been working full time for all those most of those 20 something plus years. I'm working for an airline, working in radio, working for the Red Cross. I mean, I had a full-time day job that I had to make sure that I was present at and did my job, corporate America, if you will. But then I had to turn it on, and it was go time when it's time for the arena or on my events or my auctions. And it's something that I had to really, I had to work on it because like you can't just be super energetic all the time. You're going to burn out.
Sure.
Any human being
Absolutely.
is going to burn out. But I've learned how to kind of conserve my energy, and that's what it is. If people want to kind of figure this out, you got to start somewhere. You got to start small. It started in a classroom for me where I just realized like I was reading out loud chapters in front of my classmates. You know how you go around in school.
Yeah.
Well, nobody wanted to do that. I could tell. But I was just like, dang it, let's just get it over with. And let me just do it so then I could do it and then they can move on to the next guy or the next girl. And I just wanted to just get it out of the way at first. But then when I actually concentrated on it and said, okay, this is just a paragraph. I can't be mad about that. Well, I knew I was going to be my paragraph. Like this is me as a kid. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be the eighth paragraph. So let me just focus on that eighth
Mm,
paragraph, read it over and over in my head, and then when it came time to it, I was already prepared. I mean, preparation is one thing, right? They always say preparation is 90% or whatever, 99%, and then perspiration is the rest. That is true. But then there are spontaneous moments where you can't prep. And that is where I think the art of improv, the art of spontaneity, freestyling, if you will, can really help you just be loose and just go with the flow. Don't think about it too much. And that's actually, for me, I think the best thing for other people. You can either internalize and study the heck out of it, which we've done that. We've studied lines and memorized this, and you could do that. You can beat yourself up over it, and it's intense.
sure.
Or you could just say, "Look, I got the gist of it. Let me just say it in my own words," and that sometimes takes a little bit more skill because you have to now articulate. That's what radio has allowed me to do. When I was in radio, I was theater of the mind. I
Yeah.
had 30 seconds to talk about something, some product, this and that, in the most descriptive, most captivating way in a 30-second block. That time frame, that shortness, and that audio only, no visuals, really helped me articulate what I had to say. And so all this training really just helped me get in front of the public, and I could do 30-second, 60-second little ins and outs like that. Of course, obviously with 20 almost 25 years of experience, but it took some time. I used to
Sure.
read things verbatim and when I first started at the Warriors because I didn't want to mess up, right? And then
Yep.
I started thinking, no, people don't want a robotic. This is now brought to you by I mean, nobody wants that. You just got to be loose and be your personality. That's why I never got into news because news was just, too many stories about, deaths and this and that. That wasn't my beat. I needed to be me and be free. And that whole freestyle spontaneity really just helped me, overcome my fear of public speaking. But it just allowed me to kind of relax and say, you know what, just be you. Because
Yeah.
in the end, you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and you can only be you. I can't be this person or that person. Come up with your own style and just go with it. Keep tweaking it and see what the response is. You're like a chef when you're doing things right, when you're cooking. I'm not a chef, but my wife is. I can't cook worth crap. But when she's putting things, she goes, "Oh, needs a little bit of salt." How do you know that? Well, she's tasted it. She's going a little bit by bit.
Yeah.
You're not going to perfect it the first time, but repetition, practice. Steph Curry, perfect example. You think this short, undersized, not even was supposed to be point guard that got rejected by many major colleges? Did he get there overnight to be the superstar that he is? No, he had to do reps after reps. He had to adjust his shot. There's a documentaries out about it where he had to learn how to shoot like, from his chest or do something like that. He tweaked something, which is like, dang it, I got to do all this work again. But if you want to make it to the next level, you got to. He wasn't even supposed to be a point guard. And then he evolved into a point guard. Look at him now. Unbelievable, right? But it
It is, but he put the work in, which you
put the
alluded
work.
to, in his routine. He has this routine pre-game that's been well documented by Fitz and Buki and others, as well as his own documentary. But
Right.
I included him just a little short snippet in my book called 10 Seconds of Boldness, who I interviewed Steve Lavin, who's a radio or television personality and former coach of St. John's and UCLA and a high school classmate, just because I love basketball. I've always loved basketball.
Yeah.
But the work ethic, that's what you're talking about
That's
here, is
yeah.
the repetitions, the space repetitions. Steve Lavin calls it incrementalism. And he takes that
Like that.
time to really build the community and connection with his players. But it's this repetition and running the drills over, whether it's Santa Clara's or whatever, you're doing the drills over and over again so
Over and
you get
over
that
again.
muscle memory.
Right.
So in terms of what we're talking about here, yeah, it's a joy to watch, but not everybody sees behind the scenes, which is part of the reason I'm wanting to invite you on the show because you're right. Public speaking scares the shit out of people.
Oh, it's
And it
number one of the
doesn't
biggest fears
have
ever.
to. It doesn't have to. My wife's going to get her teeth cleaned today. That's one of the other biggest fears. I
Yeah.
heard something that the only two fears that we are actually born with are the fear of falling and the fear of dying, or fear of loud noises, excuse me, fear of loud noises
Okay.
and fear of falling. Everything else is a learned behavior. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? But it's true. So let's
Yeah.
go back to this showing up because I just remember that the title of the talk I did, and this is funny. Hopefully you'll find it funny. It's called The Art of Presence. So I'm up here talking about the art of presence and using it as an application for pro marketing tips for entrepreneurs and authors. And I'm in the middle of my presentation. I wrote the damn book. I know the content. I studied. I did all those things you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
And I had this brain fart moment where I had my facilitator notes and I had the PowerPoint up there and a handout I gave to people, and my brain just took a vacation. And I went, you know what? The title of this talk is called The Art of Presence. And I'm going to share something with you right now for anybody who is a little uncomfortable being in front of people teaching. I'm lost right now, but I know where I want to go. So we're going to set
Ah,
these aside and we're going to come back to that slide right there. And just the moment though, Franco, it scared the crap out of me because I'm
right.
getting paid to do this in front of 20 or 30 people, relatively small room. But I'm sharing this because I don't know if you've ever, if you want to share it, has there been any of those awkward moments where you just trip over your own words to self humiliation or whatever? But it happens,
It
right?
always happens. I mean, look, we're human. I mean, you can't perfect everything. You try, but sometimes you just have to acknowledge it like you did and you joke around. And sometimes that's even funnier or best because it's like, hey, he's human. He's not he's not this robot or superhuman or whatever it is, especially when you're out there. I mean, whatever I say is broadcasted to, 18 to 20,000 people. I mean, every word is captured and you only have a certain amount of time. Uh,
Yeah.
I've flubbed a lot of things. Sometimes you just have a brain fart in the middle of it and you're just like, what the heck? Like you said, it went on vacation right at the moment. It happens rarely these days for me now. I've been doing this for so long, but it does happen, and you just have to, you got to fly.
Yeah.
You either fight or flight, right? And sometimes you want to fight it so much, you're like, oh, it has to be perfect, this and that. Like when you're performing, like they say, when you're dancing and you're doing a move, and then you're like, oh, I messed up. Well, the more you put attention, you're like, oh, everyone's watching you. Well, yeah, you're going to bring attention to it, but you know what? You fall, you do something, get back up, get right into it like nothing happened, and go away. People will forget, and you just have to do that. Don't we can be our worst critics because, of
Yes.
course, we want to be the best. We want to be perfect. Perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, to be honest. It's you could try, but when you're public speaking. things just come out. You're not reading a script word for word on an audiobook or anything like that, where you are stuck to a script. A lot of times you have to flow, you have to freestyle, you just got to go with whatever happens. I think comics, I don't know if you've ever tried stand-up comedy for 5 minutes, but that is one of
Yeah.
the hardest damn jobs, I think, in the world, because you got to captivate, make them laugh. You got to come up with material. You got to be witty, and you got to do it in a short amount of time and engage. And you had all this stuff. And I was like, I could MC a comedy little stand up, open mic night. I wanted to challenge myself because, I've been doing my thing for a long time, but I've never done comedy. Man, I was stressed out for like 3 minutes. All I had to do was three minutes of material, and I had no idea it was that hard. It was only like what 20 people in the crowd, and it was at a bar in North Beach in San Francisco. And you know what I did? And my first minute, I had all this stuff planned because I wrote this stuff. I'm like, I gotta be funny. I gotta do this. I said, you know what? You know what I did? I ended up cussing a storm because you could. And I said, wow, that was liberating because you know what? For 25 years, I could never say an F word, an S word, or any of this stuff. But today, I said, with full
Yeah. You
explicitives,
can say whatever you want on the show. It's
well, I like to always
monetizable.
I came from the Disney product, so I always
All
have
right.
to keep it PC.
Yeah,
But
you
let me
got it.
tell you, Sean, it was so liberating. And then I was just myself. I said, you know what? You could be as dirty as you want. You could be as profane as you want. You're opening the show. You're setting the tone. These guys are going to be cussing up a storm and doing their bits. You're
Yeah.
setting the tone and getting people going. So once I got that shield broken down, I started just being loose, F-bombs coming out, and that was my shtick. It was like, I'm so liberated. I've always had to be in a controlled microphone environment in a studio, working for Disney, working for the Warriors, and now I could say, and
Yeah.
it was cracking up because I've never had a chance to do that.
But see, and what you just did right there, right now, in this moment, is what I wanted to convey, and you did it with a great story. Because when we get to that threshold and we're leaning over the edge, and maybe it's at well, I got the Golden Gate Bridge behind me, maybe it's not jumping off the bridge, but just looking over. True story. And when in high school, I got all hammered and climbed up underneath the nets, and my friends were doing this. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I just
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
yeah, in the safety nets underneath the bridge on the Marin side. And I'm like, no, guys, I'm out of here. And anyway, but when we get to that precipice, we start to feel that freedom that it's just you let go.
You let go. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever zip lined, but my son got me a zip lining for Father's Day a few years back, and we did it up at the Occidental ones up in Sonoma Zip, whatever zip line tours up there. But just that moment, it can be scary. You're 200 feet against above the forest floor, but when you grab on and you trust the line and you trust the guide to stop you on time and the brakes and everything, and you just go, that's the kind of freedom that you're talking about here.
Yes.
And the liberation that happens when you take off this, and that was the main part of my talk on Saturday, was it's from head to heart to gut, from head to heart to gut. And coming full circle here, you hear Fitz and Buki talk about it. You talk about the heart of the Warriors. You hear about Steph and what his journey is. And you hear about what your journey is and mine and all this stuff. So those three things, Franco, when we focus not so much on the head part, but we get down to the heart and we come from a gut level, that's where this freedom happens. And you're able to do all these things working full time and 24 years, like you told me in person, you said this is the best part-time job I've ever had.
Yeah.
I
Who'd have
mean,
thought?
come on, four rings in the process because they treat their entire family properly. So on that, a segue, if you're comfortable talking about it, I don't want to leave this on a downer, but I want to at least broach it if you're okay talking about it. Um, you mentioned something about the search for your biological father. Do you feel comfortable wanting to talk about that a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit?
absolutely. I've been very public about it, and it's part of my soul searching and kind of finding out my identity. Franco Finn was not. I wasn't born Franco Finn. I mean, I'll just tell you that. I was legally adopted by my stepfather, who's an Irishman, who's no longer with us, but he remarried my mother and when I was about 12, 13, and so I had to change my name in the middle of pretty much like freshman year high school, where some people knew me as Franco Valenzuela, which I was born in San Francisco in the Mission with that name, with my biological father at the time, when I was born, and then they split a long time ago, and then once my stepfather remarried my mother and legally adopted me, my biological father was out of the picture, right? He never, that was it. That was kind of like the end. My last name changed and my new identity, if you will, began. And so now, you fast forward, gosh, 35 years later, here I am kind of figuring out like, okay, well, I know I'm Franco Finn now. Everyone knows me as that, but I still remember my days as Franco Valenzuela first, 11, 12 years of my life.
Mhm.
Um, Now I'm kind of at that point where I'm full circle. I want to see, who is my father. I'm supposed to be like a spitting image of him. Apparently, my mom says it. I mean, the distant past, it's a memory now, but it is a part of my DNA. It's a part of who I am. And the reason why I'm in this space is because my father, my real father at the time, took me to auditions. He believed in my talent. We had video cameras, lights, we had all the video equipment, film stuff. No wonder I'm into film and behind the scenes of production because I was around it. And so I want to find out how that affected my life and that the spark. And if there's a man there that hopefully is still alive. And that's where the search kind of begins. I'm nearing the 50 mark. I just turned 49. I can't believe it. And so now I'm looking back at my chapters and saying, wow, how did I get here? And now I'm kind of, wanting to discover the truth or uncover the truths or, just the other side to kind of complete me, if you will.
Yeah, I totally get it. And was he in the film industry or what are you,
No, he was
no?
actually a dentist in the Philippines. My mom was a doctor in the Philippines. So, they got kind of set up and said, hey, you're moving to America. You guys should be together. But, just because you were a dentist and a doctor in another land, in a foreign land, doesn't translate well here, number one. And number two, doesn't mean like you love each other, right? I was probably the best thing that came out of that. And so, I just want to kind of know the other half because that really kind of sparked my interest in this field right now. And it's kind of like that missing piece that just to complete your pie, your circle, right? Um, and that's kind of where I'm at. And if I don't meet him, then so be it. But it would be nice to see while my mother's still around. And if my father's still around, to have to be in the same room
Yeah.
before they pass is something that is pretty special for me at least. Like I'm an only child. I came from two biological parents at some point, but to
Yeah.
have them both still present and to be in a room would be a just a fulfillment for me that money can't buy. It's more of just like just kind of putting your life story together, that piece. Although
Absolutely.
it's the way it happened, that's fine. But I ended up okay. My Irish father. I mean, he said he always had a shot of Irish genes, and I'm very involved in the Irish community here in San Francisco. I'm involved in the Filipino community here. I've got a diverse background. I think it's beautiful that this is what San Francisco is about. It's so diverse, and you could look away a certain way or be this and be different. But it is a search that I want to. I'm going to follow up on it and create my own documentary too. That is really in the end what I'd love to do is create just my life story and just how did I get here? How did I get here? How did I become on this stage in front of 20,000 fans? Like, I never thought about this. I've been pretty lucky. So,
We usually don't, and I say a prayer for you and wish for all the best because I know firsthand. I wrote a book about it, my very first book that scared the living snot out of me. But I understand that dynamic. My father was still around, but he took off around the same age as your mother and father split. I was 12 years old, and it took a lot of long term healing before I finally got to a place where I stopped being pissed off at him for taking off because I felt abandoned.
right,
Hearing your story though, I understand fully how important that is, especially as you're approaching, the big 5-0 and next year. It's a period where we and the 50s have been the best years of my life. I'm just going to tell you, the 60s are even better. I'm only a
Oh,
year
I love to hear
into it.
that. There you go.
So the time is there, but the joy of your journey will continue to unfold. And when you get to this place where you've got the storyline and the narrative arc and you want to do your own documentary, I am so appreciative that you took some time out of your day to share a portion of that right here on the show. I mean, you
Yeah.
didn't know me from Adam, Franco, and some people would be like, "Oh, he's a hype man. I can't talk." It's not who I am. I got an immediate connection when we just
Oh, I
exchanged
know. And it was
cards
just
there, and I'm like,
fast.
I got to have you on my show.
And it's
You're like,
amazing.
I'd love
And
to.
that's what it's about. It's about literally what I love about my job is the connection I have with so many fans over the years. They become your family. They become people that you see over and over and over again. And there's a time that one day you're gonna have to walk away from it. I mean, I'll be
Oh,
25 years next year. I'll be 50. I don't have a kid yet, but my wife and I are going through that kind of whole evolution and journey. Like, what is that next chapter, right?
yeah.
And I've been able to parlay this amazing career and influence a lot of different people, and obviously hype up my favorite team in this career and lifespan. That's pretty awesome. And so I want to be able to document it someday. And I'm gonna tell you this. This is pretty unique. I'm probably the only consistent guy that has ever introduced, I know I could say this, live in a home game, the greatest shooter of all time from his rookie year in his first NBA season, out of Davidson, number 30, Stephen Curry. I do the whole thing.
Go
Those
ahead and do it.
players
Let's
were
do that. I'm
little.
gonna do it right now. Let's just do it. We're gonna end the show on this, but go back to that day in 2015, or when no, it was
Well,
before that.
17 years ago, so
Yeah,
it's quite a bit. So yeah,
you got it. Here's
I'll,
this
I'll do my
rookie.
first. This is what I mean. This is when I was hyping it up, and I didn't know. I was like, I'm doing a starting lineup. Well, I introduced Stephen Curry when he was a rookie 17 years ago. So I would say something like, you know, in his first NBA season, out of Davidson, number 30, Stephen Curry. And then there would maybe be some applause. It's like, who's this guy? To
Right.
now in his 17th NBA season, out of David. And I mean, just that whole comparison from 0 to 17 and counting. I mean, I've literally introduced him the most consistent way for his entire career, like at home, at in front of Dub Nation. That is something that I will hold dearly to me because that was my job. I did the starting lineups, which usually a PA announcer would do, but I've evolved now. They've given me the mic 20 something odd years ago. They said, "No, you're the voice of the intros. You're the voice of our home team." So I could definitely say that I'm the only consistent voice that has introduced one of the greatest shooters of all time in Stephen Curry from his very first year. And I also have one of the very first interviews with him and the Currys at one of the All-Star games too in Dallas when he wasn't even an All-Star. He was just a rookie sophomore challenge winner, the rookie sophomore game.
Mhm.
Um, and we've all evolved. Like I look at that interview, I'm like, oh my God, who was that young guy interviewing the Currys to today? What a night and day. I mean, we all cringe and say, "Oh, what did we wear? How did we look? How did we approach?" That's how it was. That's how crazy it was. And so it's just great to be a part of that. And it's something that I'm going to hold near and dear. The rings prove it. I don't have it with me on, but I got four. I'd love a fifth one, but I can't be greedy. One for the thumb is always tough. Uh, but it's been a dream. It's been a dream, and hopefully the dream keeps going, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, this has been a dream for me to have you on the show. It wasn't a dream, it was just a serendipitous event. But to have this conversation with you, the love that I have for that team and the years that I'm pounding on the bongo drums before after school, waiting for the Warriors game to start to listen to Bill King say, he dribble drives left and nobody pulls up. And it just I was
Oh,
hooked. I was hooked. And like you, King doing that and the A's games, it's like, oh my God, how do you do both? But he
oh,
did. It's
he did.
phenomenal.
Legends. And yeah, it's been amazing. We're writing history and we got to witness history and now we can look back, as this is kind of fading and sunsetting, right? I mean, all good things come to an end. I want to be able to reflect on not only just my career as doing this single job and hyping up this amazing fan base for the last quarter century, practically half my life, but really just appreciating, like you say, the joy of the journey, because that
Mhm.
I think is what's inspiring because other people can also learn from you and say, wow, that journey wasn't always just easy. It wasn't ever easy for Steph Curry. It wasn't ever easy for you. It wasn't ever easy for me. Things normally aren't easy. I mean, you have to work at it like anything else. You have to, dodge and weave and, you got to make it your own. And that's what life is about, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you got to make lemonade out of lemons and sometimes you got the best fruit in the house. I mean, you never know what you got. You just got to make the most of it.
And what we do here is always give you some last words. I'll wrap it up. But how do people, if number one, if anybody happens to know who your biological father was, give them a way to get a hold of you so you can make that connect.
Yeah.
And number two, um, how do they get a hold of you? Do you want them to get a hold of you for auctioneering and or fundraising or through the San Francisco Connection? I've got your email, but I want you to give them the way to.
Yeah. Well, these days it's all about social media. You find me on LinkedIn
Okay.
at Franco Finn, Instagram, where everybody's on Instagram. Most people are, or Facebook or whatever. Those are the only the platforms I really play with, but it's at Franco Finn, FrancoFinn. And if you just Google search my name, Hype Man, like there's going to be a ton of stuff. And it's crazy to look back, like we say, 20, almost 25 years. I'm like, gosh, and I'm just getting started. You know what I
What you
mean?
just said, no, I feel the same way. I'm going to be 62 in less than a month. And it's like, I feel like I'm just getting started. You know why?
Yeah. You start
Because I
finding
lived 40
passions.
years of scraping my knees, falling down flat on my face, rubbing some dirt in it, getting back up and doing it over and over and over again and figuring out what didn't work. And now here we are. We're like, holy crap, I can have a conversation with somebody that's got four, NBA championship rings.
And look at that. Look, and you've evolved. And that's what's amazing. And that's what life should be about. And, we just have to evolve with the times and find new crafts. Like I'm almost like at that point too, where like I've been in front of the scene so much that now I'm kind of like, I want to produce something. I want to maybe find the next hype man or hype woman, produce my own document, be behind the lens. And, I could do both, but now I could like maybe tell full stories like that. Like I want to see both perspectives now that I'm older. I don't always have to be in front of the cameras or in front of the scenes. That's like Ron Howard. Look at Ron Howard, for instance,
Yeah.
child actor, famous TV shows. And I mean, look at him now. He's a famous director. He
And he's a real good director too.
and
I
he's a
mean,
very good one. And I mean, just look at that. How anyone could just flip the script and do it. It's just
well,
gotta
and
unbelievable.
look at Clint. Clint found a groove, but Clint has written some of the best movies Clint has acted in and directed and or written um are just they're just phenomenal. I mean, that at his age to be able to do that is like you just said, we're just getting started.
Just getting started. And that's the attitude. It's really the attitude that we have. Like you said, oh, the 50s were great. The 60s are even better. That is your perspective because you chose to make it like that. You wanted to say, hey, life's just getting better. You know what I mean? Because you could be down on yourself and this and that and be in a rut. But you have an option to choose to look at glass half full or glass half empty, right? That's that classic analogy. We're half full people, and it's great because there's still more to be poured, and I think that's what your life should be about. Like live it up to the fullest, right? Do things that are uncomfortable too.
I'm stealing that. That's going to probably be the headline for the show on the show notes, but we're half full people. There's more to be poured. I
There's
mean,
more to be poured. It really is. Like bring
that's
it
it
in.
right
What do
there.
we got?
We got it, baby.
It's good.
Franco,
I appreciate
thank
it.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you, folks. This has been a delightful hour of visiting with Warriors hype man of 24 years, a film aficionado, just an overall dynamite human being. I'm so glad I got to meet you over this last hour. And you know what? It's been Dare to Be Great, Dare to Be You, because we've been talking about Dare to Be Great and Dare to Be You. And Franco is the epitome of making that happen. So thank you, my friend.
I'm going to close with this. You got to do a make some noise. Make some noise in life. Let's do it.
Thank you, baby.
All
Love it.
right. Thanks, Sean. Take care. Have a good one.